I can't hear you.
My man,
That should be better. What's up?
how are you?
I'm good. Seems like I was gonna wear something more beige, so we would have matched perfectly, but it seems we are not doing that today.
It seems we are complimenting each other today instead.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm on this in this space of wanting to do more, having lots of things that I want to do and that I know is great for my business, for my personal development, for my plans, and having so much stuff to do and thinking about that sometimes puts me in a space of fuck, I have so much stuff to do.
Hmm.
And these last 2 days, man, I found that by actually sitting down and taking the time to just become very present and talk to myself and figure out what is wrong. Because I will be sitting and eating and I'm thinking about what I will do after and what I could have done even better previously. And I'm actually just having a meal. So yesterday, I skipped the first 45 minutes of jujitsu practice to just sit with my meal in front of me, not eating, just doing a tapping technique, which is releasing, for me at least, emotional disturbance and lots of thoughts. So it just puts me in the moment. And after I feel grounded and a little bit low, but very grounded. So I'm able to take action. And I found that all these things that I had to do, could do better, it was all made up because
Hmm.
I then started to do those things that I initially was hesitant of. I did it much faster and much more enjoyable. So
I love that.
learning,
Time is an illusion.
yeah, it's I have to do this before that. Says who? Well, I set that goal. Well, can you do something about it? No. Okay. Then what is there to do about it? Well, nothing. Okay. Then let's learn from it. And I'm really, have you ever, Jasper, wrote down a identity sheet?
Yes, constantly.
Amazing, man. So one of the things that I've written down is that I take my time in in terms of call it turbulence
Okay.
to prioritize my being instead of the producing activities.
It's probably a good idea to explain what an identity sheet is for anyone who doesn't understand that. So, well, it depends. I'm not sure like what your definition is, but I learned this from Steve Hardison. He's known as the ultimate coach. He calls it like a life document.
Mm,
Says whatever's on the document, you need to be that to such a large extent that if I were to cut you, that you would literally bleed the document out of you. And I love that analogy. Like you create statements of the future version of you, the future version of you that you want to step into, and then you try to live in alignment with that as much as possible till it becomes you.
mm.
That is what my definition or explanation would be, at least.
I love that. It's very much being what you want to be already today.
Actively creating it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I remember you mentioned that before, already living the life that you are creating. So there's no time, there's no rush because you're already there. Even though it's not manifested physically or 3D, you still have that sense of it from the inside. And from
Mhm.
that sense, now you're creating heaven on earth, right? Because your heaven is in
Yeah.
yourself. And then you're inviting people into that heaven because now you're sharing of yourself, of your higher,
Totally.
of your dream.
Yeah.
So,
It is so beautiful because first of all, current reality gets much better. You feel so much better from that state. You
mm,
inspire more people from that state because you're not right like in this low frequency way of living. And
mm,
then it also enables you too create that life, right? It's literally if you believe it and you create that state and you work towards it, there is no doubt that you're not able to create that.
Have you ever felt fake or unworthy or imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it when creating this, when being coming from the States?
Probably at some point. I sometimes feel imposter syndrome in terms of sharing my truth, like things that have worked for me, in the sense of, yeah, who am I to spread this because this is my reality, right? This is my version of truth. Who is it to say that this helps someone else in their way? That would be the only imposter syndrome. Because, yeah, I have accepted that if I keep progressing, I can achieve everything that I envision. And I have that certainty because I know many people who have done this exact process and they live it. I am already living it to quite a, decent extent nowadays. Um, and the other thing is, if you do not believe, there is no power in not believing it. It's kind of like I'm not sure if we talked about this, but like probably not. With Tate, for example, he says depression isn't real. He says this not because it's not a real thing, it's because it doesn't empower him to think that. In the same way, I do not believe that depression is real for me because by me not allowing its existence in my own head, I can't fall victim to it. I don't worry with many of the negative things that happen outside because it is disempowering. And so in the same way with this, it only empowers you to 100% believe in the possibility of it. And so there is no reason not to think otherwise, as long as you stay diligent, of course, and you plan and you don't become completely delusional through that process.
Yeah, yeah, you're onto something very interesting. You're taking what's helping you or taking away what's not helping you. And there is this author. He's a I don't know if I've talked about him. Dan Perignon is called,
You have not.
and he wrote a book called The Alabaster Girl, and he has a point which talks about how he assumes that because he's in Rome, he was portrayed as a pickup artist, whatever, and he said, "No, if you want to call me anything, call me a romance artist."
Hmm.
And what he says so beautifully is that he assumes that every girl is his, not because he's delusional and thinks that every girl will like him, but because if you don't know, then why not just err on the right side? Why not just be like, yeah, of course you're my girl. Like, okay, let's go and do this thing. And then you just assume it. And if she's not, then she's not. And like you say, you don't believe depression is a real thing to you. Well, by you not believing it, you're not
For
making it
sure. And
any.
I have experienced it, right? Like, so it's not like that is a insight that might be useful to see, like to give. I would have described myself as depressed right around this time 3 years ago. Like
Mm,
I would have, yeah, you would have, I think I would have described myself like that. I might have even done so. So it's not like I'm saying this thing doesn't exist. I'm saying I could never go back to that state because I'm in such a high frequency at all times. And by constantly reliving that and kind of reinforcing that,
mm,
it becomes the natural state.
yeah. And it's so true because you are really creating your reality. So when I, for example, had what was it, allergy for cats, I just told myself that, oh, it's if I was sneezing or something, oh, there was something in my throat that I got out. And if I haven't slept well, and if I've been working a lot and I'm coughing or something, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Bad energy leaving me. I'm so grateful for being healthy. I'm so thank you for my health. And then I'm not getting sick, and then I'm not allergic to cats anymore, and that's
Hmm.
incredible. It's like we're changing how we're viewing life by changing who we are or who we think we are. And words and thoughts. Somebody, I guess a lot of people said that what we think is who we become, by
Hmm.
thoughts, words,
For
actions,
sure.
habits, and so on, character, destiny. And then I found it so interesting. For example, yesterday I had an experience where it was twice. It was once at with work and once after something happened on a date. And at both instances, I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm tired of not feeling worthy. I'm tired of
Mm.
overthinking and double taking, looking for signs. Was this correct? Well, now the snowfall fell down when I said that. That means it's right. Or is it? It's always this doubt, always this something. But what is that? Because here and now there is no science. Like, I'm doing this thing. So who says that's right or not right? And then like both times I really sat down and said, no, this is something I'm letting go of. And today I didn't sleep well. I had a lot of things from business still hanging on. And my mantra has been, it's fine. I'm worthy. It's fine. I'm enough. Just as I am, it's enough. It's enough. And just by repeating this, I still get those experiences where I'm not feeling worthy, but then also gets this boost up because I'm like, as soon as I'm letting go of that perceived unworthiness, then I feel elevated, and it's like
Mm.
something's letting go. And I don't know about you, but for me, my experience is that my growth is uh, it goes it goes up and down, but it's not like in one instance. It's kind of goes little by little.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
I will
that's
say the biggest thing that I've learned is just do not break the chain. Right? It's if you slip up with one thing, for me it's always the moment I slip up with one thing, it's like let's fuck up completely kind of. That's why I very rarely miss because when I do it's like, okay, let's now eat some shit because we already, slept 10 minutes too late and whatever. That is kind of a cycle that I would get in the past. Doesn't really happen nowadays, not nearly as much at least.
do you
Um,
mean when you fuck up one thing, you catch yourself and you go back to the original plan instead of fucking up more?
Yeah, nowadays, but that's what I noticed is it is best to just never even break the chain because if you give in one area, it becomes very easy to give in another area. So
Mm,
if you're maybe having like some cake and then, you get the cake and you start to get dopamine hit from there and then it's like, oh, let me also watch a show and then it
mm.
becomes this kind of domino of let's see where else we can fuck up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so by building a very strict program in some sense, I would presume for most people, what I do on a daily basis would be quite a strict program. Um, but there is a lot of freedom found in that. Like a lot of people will say, oh, if you're eating healthy all the time, you're sacrificing.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's really true because,
Mm.
or you're restricting yourself, would be better. And maybe you're making sacrifice in some ways, but you're giving yourself a lot of freedom through that restriction.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. In what way do you mean that?
Hmm. In the way of, I guess, freeing your mind in the sense of not being a slave to the things in terms of not sacrifice. You normally sacrifice for your goals. And if you do not sacrifice for your goals, then your goals become the sacrifice, right? So you're giving up kind of certain earthly pleasures, but in return for those sacrifices, you get everything you wanted.
Mm, mm, yeah,
I'm sure that,
yeah.
yeah, completely gets it across, but
And those can be small. It can be earthly pleasure of dopamine hits, but it can be earthly pleasure of comfort. For example, if you're in a sales call
mhm,
and you, instead of confidently pitching or confidently asking for the close, you instead half-ass it because it's more comfortable. That's a pleasure, but you're not getting what you want.
mm,
And I'm continuing with this. I found, now we go specific in terms of orgasms. I found that by having sex and orgasming the normal way, ejaculating,
mhm,
for me at this point, I find pleasure in it, but very little compared to the energy that I can have inside of me and use for other creative actions instead of ejaculating.
mm,
And I'm mentioning this because it's a pleasure, but it's something of, it's not even a sacrifice, because looking at the other thing is like you're either sacrificing this or that. So it's not a sacrifice anymore. It's more like choosing.
yeah, for
And
sure.
being who you are in that instance is then an empowering choice. If you're choosing the other thing, then it's a disempowering because you're lowering yourself from what you wanted. And yeah, that's two things that I've been thinking about and
Mm,
processing this last 24 hours.
for sure. With
How
regret is like such a powerful guideline, right? Like if you regret anything, very clear signs to just cut that off. It's kind of like your conscience is the authentic voice of God, right? Like have I shared this with you?
no.
Okay. So yeah, there's something that I heard where if you follow the guidelines of your conscience, you just listen to your conscience, it's very easy to kind of figure out, what you should be doing, like what the right path forward is. And if you were completely in alignment with your conscience, whenever you feel any type of regret, you should be cutting that off. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but if you just listen to that voice, you basically fix most of your problems, I would say.
Mm, yeah, I love that. It's the authentic voice of God. And
Hmm.
wow, well then God is the pursuit of personal development,
Uh-huh.
right? It's like it's becoming one is truer to your authenticity, to your soul, to what you really want.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
for sure. But that
You're
is
right.
all servitude, right? Like and that's kind of, it doesn't really matter what skill you grab. If it's like Maslow's, right, you have like self-actualization, you have self-transcendence. It's, if you listen to that voice and you listen to it well enough, it becomes greater than you. It becomes about servitude. It becomes about love. It becomes about giving to other people. And so in that sense, I mean, obviously you can debate whether or not it's the authentic voice of God, but it's either way, I think by listening to it, you are able to transcend yourself and help kind of the bigger picture where I would expect God's, that God would want us to do those things.
We don't know, but I mean, if you create something, then you want to make it the best, right? Unless you want
That's
to
true.
make it worst, and then it's not God, it's devil, right? But
Uh-huh.
then again, I heard somewhere there's no devil, there's only the absence of God.
Hmm.
And somebody said, I'm only afraid of the absence of God.
I love that.
And one taxi driver told me that God will forgive you up until a point, and then he's no longer with you. And yes, he was a very religious man. It just made me think that there is this map of consciousness, right?
Mhm.
There's this, like you're telling, high frequencies, empowering energy, and lower energies.
I have it right here. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, man. And then under that, I would say you're relieving God in a sense. Because I think when we say God, like
Mhm.
part of it that's smiling and laughing is like, there's this great man with the white beard, looking over his empire kind of thing. I think
Mhm.
that's what's making us cringe enough. I think,
I wouldn't say it's cringe, but yeah, there is like a real. Obviously, there is like various connotations
yeah,
to God. I think the best thing is just to build your personal relationship with God and find out for yourself. Okay, like this is their bond. Read everything. Now, I am a hypocrite in this sense. I haven't read all the religious texts, but I am definitely building my own awareness and building a personal connection by praying, by meditating, by staying open,
mm,
um, and purely, by being in a higher frequency as much as possible. I think you also really allow yourself to you open yourself to be a vessel kind of for God. And it
mm,
doesn't really matter, what you believe, whether it's the God, the source, the universe.
mm, mm. Yeah. And I want to give some quick tips through you to whoever's listening with the desire to stay in a high vibration. So Jasper, can you give me your best tip for leaving low vibrations and the
Mhm.
best to stay and elevate yourself in high vibrations
Okay.
and make it
That is.
understandable for someone who has not an idea of how to do it?
Okay. I made a video on this yesterday actually, so that might be interesting. But either way, best thing to get out of a low frequency state is to forgive yourself, like truly forgive yourself. Because if you look at the map of consciousness, that is like, I'm not sure what the exact level is. It's quite a high frequency state already, forgiveness. It goes past courage. It transcends like already a few levels. And if you can truly get to a state where, okay, everything that has gone wrong in the past, every situation that I was in, everything that I might have messed up, it's okay. I'm ready to move beyond that. That is a very, very healing state to be in.
Let me just, sorry to interrupt you, just we don't have a Jamie here, but let's just pull up the map of consciousness, and
Uh-huh.
because there will be people who find this interesting but don't know what it is just yet. So let me just
Yeah.
this up and share the screen while you are explaining exactly what you are now, because it's brilliant. It's just, if you haven't seen it, then it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. This
Uh,
is very confusing stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
That's a
so
good point.
can you see this?
Yes, I can. I hope
Okay.
in the recording this works as well. Yeah, so if we look, it's
Yeah.
like acceptance. The level of acceptance is the predominant emotional state is forgiveness. And so if you're able to get into a state of forgiveness, it's very, very high level of frequency, right?
Mm, mm, definitely. It's just to explain this very quickly because we can jump straight into it,
Hmm.
assuming everyone knows what it is. So the map of consciousness is very simply, it's okay, so everything is energy vibrating at a different frequency. That's something we found out through science. And then these are different, call them names of the levels, different frequencies of the energy. And it's all the way from shame in the bottom up to enlightenment in the top. And you felt shame, you felt guilt, you felt fear, and you know these feelings are, or states are, there's lower energy than if you're being courageous, for example, or if you're feeling loving. That's a much higher frequency. Just saying the word empowers me. And then it's this line here between pride and courage. And this is the line of how I've understood it, and how is that this here is energy taking. So if you're with someone who's feeling angry or fear or desire, and this, then it's taking energy. So if you're, after you've been with them, you will feel a little lower than if you're with someone who is in an accepting state, who's in a loving state. Then you feel better being with them. They're giving energy, and they also feel good. And it's something about being from here and up that you need less and less. You're not so much give me. You're like, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay. While here, you're more like, oh,
there is desire, right? Desire is 125. It's right there. It's when you're desiring things, you're automatically in a lacking state.
Yes, exactly. And what you were talking about now is this acceptance, this forgiveness, and it's very high up. So it's a high frequency. When you're accepting and forgiving yourself, you're starting to feel better. You're starting to have more energy. And doing one activity or two activities, you can do them better and faster than if you're doing the same activity from fear or desire, because there's less energy available.
Sure. It's also, I like to think about it like where the lower states, you're very zoomed in on the thing that you're trying to solve. So if you try to solve anything that you're working on in your life from a lower level state, you're like more zoomed into the thing. Whereas if you're up higher, you're more from a loving state. You can see more. You can think clearer and make better decisions.
Yeah. Yes.
There are a few things I was thinking about with this. So this is also interesting with the example I gave in my video yesterday as well as Dalai Lama, for example, right? Like I'm not sure where he calibrates on this scale, but he must be quite freaking high on this. Where, you know, people that meet Dalai Lama, he has such a high state of being that he automatically heals people around them or around him. And it's the same with if you read books on with that David Hawkins, who made this, he was working as the head of a I think like a psychiatric clinic or like a hospital, and the people who got better, the doctors that cured like more people, they were just in a higher level of a higher frequency. And so they had the same type of drugs that they were giving, the same type of protocol to heal these patients, but the real difference in results came from their doctor being in a higher frequency because they had a more healing frequency. And from this state, they were able to help more.
Yeah.
So the second thing you asked me was, how do you maintain a high frequency? Obviously, like, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out like how to get all the way to the top, but like a pretty good state that you can stay in, a pretty good tip is just exercise. First of all, there's a few things. Exercise, if you are in peak physical condition, it's very hard to be in a low frequency. If you're fit, you're feeling good in your body, and whenever you start to feel negative, just get moving. Like this is a very easy way to stay in that high vibration. Then the other thing is to just block out negative things, because even it's the same thing where we talked about with power. Any type of guilt, any type of shame, any type of emotion, any type of thought that is linked to the lower skill, it just doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve the people around you, doesn't serve the people that you're trying to serve. Like it doesn't help anyone. So even accepting those thoughts is a waste of effort. And what I found like through years of being in a very low frequency for a very long time and raising out of that is just the more you practice picking out bad thoughts and negative thoughts and saying, no, these do not belong to me. These, I will not, accept these. The easier it becomes to block them out, get more positive thoughts. My brain will literally tell me in the morning that I'm limitless and that I'm like a force of nature and whatever, right? And all of this stuff, for some people, this might be considered delusional, but I don't really care, right? It gives me more power to be a better coach, to serve more people, and that's really what it's all about.
Mm, mm, mm. So you trained your mind, you trained your brain to give you empowering thoughts on automatically.
Exactly. And there are some people that would say that the brain is kind of naturally in a negative state, and you need to kind of rise out of that. I don't think that is true. Like if you just keep working on it, you can create a higher baseline as you go.
Okay,
That's at
because
least what I've learned.
I've heard that too, that um, it's easier to think negatively than positively, and that's why we tend to think negatively. And what you
Hmm.
found out for yourself is that by training your brain, your mind enough, it will now start to give you positive thoughts automatically. And that will be the new baseline. And then you can add higher stuff from there.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So, so what would you say for someone who experiences negative thoughts and wants to overcome those and start to have positive thoughts automatically coming out as well? What would you recommend for them to start to have that transformation?
There's a lot of things that go into that, but I would say the first step is it really depends on where you are. I would say, first of all, you need to have a bigger vision for your life because if you don't have a bigger vision, you're not going to get moving. If you are in a certain state and you do not have a better, like, idea of where you want to be taking things, of a better mission, of a higher sense of purpose, of all of these things, you're just going to stay in that state because there's no reason to change. So first of all, you need to have a bigger idea of, okay, there is a better life for me.
Mm,
If you have that clear and you have a clear vision and you are then still thinking negatively,
mm,
then there will be a problem. Well, first of all, a problem with confidence. If you are not believing in yourself to achieve that vision and you then continue to live in that lower frequency state, I'm kind of losing my track here. Fuck.
because you said the first thing you said was you talked about having no wait, no, I lost it too.
It starts with the vision.
It starts with the
That's what
vision.
I've noticed. Yeah.
Exactly, the vision. So at first you start with a vision. Why is a vision important? First of all, you said it. Why was that?
Hmm. It's because otherwise there's no reason to change. Like, why would you change if there is no other outcome that you can expect other than your current reality that you're clearly fucking miserable in,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Mhm.
Unless we're talking about a whole different persona where they are in a great situation and they have negative thoughts, that's a different problem. But let's assume, I mean, for the example, let's assume it's someone who is in a negative reality.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So first you need a vision. How you need a vision because if not, you will have no strong intention to move out of that negativity.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but theoretically, I was in Thailand, right, like last month or this month even, and people there are very poor, but they're also very, very happy. Obviously, not everyone, but a large majority.
Mm,
So it's not a necessity, but I've definitely found in my own life the moment that I saw, okay, there is a way bigger path for me than the thing that I had in my head of the traditional path. That was a huge boost to actually start to build momentum and to be motivated to start to change this internal state.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, you're getting the boost. You're seeing what you want to create. You're seeing what the you want to create heaven on earth again. You want to create something
Hmm.
beautiful, and you see that you have the power to do that, and you're like, I want to do this, and this is why I will go through this shit. This is why I will work hard. This is why I will let go of eating this kind of food and go
Yeah,
exercise and all these kinds of things.
exactly. And that consistency will obviously, that will be huge for getting out of a negative state in the first place.
Mhm. How big does the vision have to be? Do you need to like change the whole world, or do you think that it can just be a smaller thing?
I'll give you an answer on that, I think. Um, for me, it's big, very big. I know for a lot of people it is very big. For some people, they don't need that. Whatever aligns most with what makes them happy, I guess. Yeah, can't really answer that.
Mm, yeah, yeah, it's an interesting.
What do you think about that?
I believe it must be something that inspires me in the sense of if I had it now, I would feel better than I do right now. So it can be big, it can be small, but it's by thinking and being in that state of already being, I feel elevated.
Hmm.
And then I have, okay, I want to go there. Okay, let's do the work. So for me, there is also this like it's not about physically what to create out here, it's more about the internal thing. So how am I being in that reality that I want to create? It can be just uh, having an amazing cabin out in the mountain, or it can be hosting a live show for 100,000 people.
Hmm.
To and how am I being in each one of those? That's
Gotcha.
that's that's where I would find the answer is something that's elevating from this current reality because it gives the boost action.
That is for sure. That's a great answer. Yeah, I love
Yeah, it came from stillness.
that.
Taking the break and allowing whatever comes to come, not rushing.
Hmm. Yeah, just feeling it.
Seeing what comes, being curious. I wonder what my next thought is going to be, what my next word is going to be.
It's powerful stuff. I do have my coaching session in a bit, so we need to like
Yeah,
cut this one a bit short today. But
same, same to me. So let's end it with what's your mantra for this weekend now? What's your focus? What's your intention?
hmm,
What's something that you will take with you for the weekend?
I would like to listen more. I love this searching answers within you. For a very long time, I was constantly reading more and more and more. I found that you find a lot of answers just by being open and kind of being connected to the source, right? And just waiting for input to come.
Mm.
And there is some beautiful creation that comes from that. And I would like to exercise that more.
Amen. That's very helpful and beautiful to hear. And
Hmm.
I
For you?
appreciate you. And me, I will forgive and accept. I am transforming some stuff and I'm forgiving and accepting. And
Awesome.
this is what will be my intention for this weekend. So let's have a wonderful weekend. Let's keep enjoying our day and